الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. قال ابن القيم رحمه الله: أقسام الشرك. وهذا الشرك ينقسم إلى مغفور وغير مغفور وأكبر وأصغر. So the shirk can be divided in that which is forgiven and that which is not forgiven, and that which is the great shirk and that which is the minor shirk. وأنه الأول ينقسم إلى كبير وأكبر وليس شيء منه مغفور. And the first one, the akbar, shirk al-akbar, it can be considered as the big one and the greatest of them. And this is the sins that's not forgiven. فمنه الشرك بالله في المحبة والتعظيم أن يحب مخلوقا كما يحب الله عز وجل. And from this type of shirk that's not forgiven is to love someone or something and glorify them at a level that's only befitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فهذا من الشرك الذي لا يغفر الله له، وهو الشرك الذي قال سبحانه فيه: ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا يحبونهم كحب الله والذين آمنوا أشد حب لله. So this is the shirk that Allah does not forgive, and it's the one that the shirk that Allah described in the Quran as saying, and from the people are those who take others besides Allah and they love them as they should love Allah. And the people who believe, the believers, they are more strong in their love for Allah. So anytime you take something or someone and you put your love for that possession or that person above the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a form of shirk akbar that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive unless a person makes tawbah from it. وقال أصحاب هذا الشرك لآليتهم: تالله إن كنا لفي ضلال مبين إذ نسويكم برب العالمين. So these mushrikeen, when they're in the hellfire and being punished, they say to the idols that they used to worship, or they say to the things that they loved, like the love of Allah or more than the love of Allah, they say, by Allah, we were in a clear misguidance, that we made you at the same station as the Lord of the worlds. So anytime you put something at the level of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's a form of shirk akbar. Right? And Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he says in another book of his, whoever loves something with an improper love or with a love that's only befitting from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will be punished with that. Like if you have your heart connected to something and that love is greater than the love you should have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will punish you through that thing. So you find some people, for example, they'll fall in love with another person, and have this romantic type of love. But it becomes so engulfing and so enveloping that they forget the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then sometimes Allah will punish them through that love. Like they'll make that person not love them back, or they'll make that person removed from their life, or something will happen to them, And you see many times also like the love of power. Certain people have a love of power, more than anything else, more than love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will punish them and disgrace them through that love of power. And we see this in the news all the time. These Mongols or these huge famous people or politicians that have like a lot of power and wealth, but they get exposed in the worst way and they get embarrassed and they lose everything. So if a person has an improper love and he uses that improper love for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any love other than for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, greater than the love of Allah, Allah can punish him through that love. ومعلوم أنهم ما سووهم به سبحانه في الخلق والرزق والإماتة والإحياء والملك والقدرة، وإنما سووهم به في الحب والتأله والخضوع لهم والتذلل. So it's known that these people, they didn't make their idols like equal to Allah in the sense that they know that these idols can create, or that they can provide, or that they can give life and take life, or that they are the kings and the all-powerful. But it's understood that they put these idols in the same level of Allah with their love. So the Imam is telling us to be very careful of how you love certain things, and be very careful to always put Allah and the Deen and the Messenger and the believers above all else. Right? If you're truly a believer, your love for Allah is first and foremost. Right? And then the love of the Prophet ﷺ. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. None of you truly believes until I am more beloved to him than his father and his son and all of the people. About the Prophet ﷺ. Right? And then the love for the believers. If you truly love Allah, you love the believers. You know, like I mentioned earlier today in a talk to some people, like the Prophet said, none of you truly believes until he loves for your brother or sister what they love for themselves. Right? So it's not befitting for a Muslim to see the suffering that's going on around the world and not have any inkling of sadness in your heart or making dua for these people that are being oppressed from your Muslim brothers and sisters. Right? وكيف يسوي العبيد أو العبد بمالك الرقاب ويسوي التراب بين الأرباب ورب الأرباب وكيف يسوي الفقير بذاته الضعيف بذاته العاجز بذاته المحتاج بذاته الذي ليس له من ذاته إلا العدم بالغني بذاته والقادر بذاته الذي غناه وقدرته وملكه وجوده وإحسانه وعلمه ورحمته وكماله المطلق تام من لوازم ذاته. So the Imam is saying, how can somebody that his foundation is nothing, his foundation is need, his foundation is poverty, his foundation is weakness, be compared to that who is all-powerful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose foundation is richness and wealth and sufficiency and provision and all power and all might and all wisdom. Right? You can't compare it. Like asl al-insanu al-faqr. We are born needing things. You know, when you're a baby, you need your mother's milk. You need people to take care of you. Throughout your life, you need to eat, you need to drink, you need to use the restroom. You need, you know, you're always in need of stuff. You're not sufficient by yourself. You can't just exist without any type of sustenance or home or clothing or food, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His foundation, His asl, His that is that He does not need anything. أنتم الفقراء, you know, ونحن الفقراء, we're the poor ones. وهو الغني. نحن الفقراء إليه. We are in need of Him, and He is not in need of anything. All the good that He tells us to do is for our own benefit. He doesn't need it from us, we need it. So he's saying, the Imam is saying, how can you compare this poor, anything that's created is in need of something, to the one who doesn't need anything? And when you think about how, you know, the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the weakness of man, one example from the Salaf, you know, a pious worshipper, he was asked by the king, like, how, you know, why don't you desire this type of wealth or this stuff of, you know, like, you just seem like absent from this dunya desires. And he said to him, like, you know, I will ask you 2 questions and then I will give you the answer of why. So he said, sure. He said, if you were in the middle of a desert and dying of thirst and hunger and you are about to die, would you give half your kingdom for a glass of water? And he said, yes, of course. Then he paused and he said, okay, say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped you from having the ability to use the restroom, to urinate. Right? Would you give half your kingdom for that ability? He said, yes, of course, that's very painful, I would give half the kingdom for that. So he said, so your whole kingdom is worth a glass of water and a urination. So he's like looking at it in the deeper sense of what this worldly life is and who is in charge of it, right? That's the sense that, you know, Allah, He is the Ghani and Nahnu al-Fuqara. No matter how rich you can get, or how much wealth you have, how much power you have, you're still faqir ila Allah Azza wa Jal. And then he goes, فَأَيِّ ظُلْمٍ أَقْبَحُ مِنْ هَذَا وَأَيِّ حُكْمٍ أَشَدُّ جَوْرًا مِنْهُ حيث عدل من لا عدل له بخلقه كما قال تعالى الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. Praise be to the one, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created the heavens and the earth, and He made the darkness and the night, and then those who disbelieve make a partner to Him or equal to Him. So Allah is like glorifying Himself above this. And the Imam was saying, you know, what is more ugly or more unjust or more lack of wisdom than to say that these created things can be equal to the Creator. فَأَدْلُ الْمُشْرِكِ مِنْ خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وجعل الظلمات والنور بمن لا يملك لنفسه ولا لغيره مثل ذرة في السماوات ولا في الأرض فيا لك من عدل يتضمن أكبر الظلم وأقبحه. So he's saying that the mushrikeen that compare the one who created the heavens and the earth and created the darkness and the night and basically everything, how could you compare that to the one who doesn't even control his own self? You can't control, like we said, your bodily functions alone, the heavens and the earth, right? You can't control your heartbeat. It's in you. Sometimes you can't even control your own thoughts, your breathing, all these things. So how can a person compare anything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is in control of everything? And he's saying this is basically foolishness and craziness and the greatest of injustices. Then the Imam, he goes on to say that shirk can be classified furthermore into shirk fil af'ali wal aqwali wal iradati wal niyat. That shirk can occur in your actions, in your statements, and in your intentions. Right? So he goes, فالشرك في الأفعال كالسجود لغيره والطواف بغير بيته والحلق الرأس عبودية وخضوعا لغيره وتقبيل الأحجار غير الحجر الأسود الذي هو يمين الله في الأرض وتقبيل القبور واستلامها والسجود لها ولقد لعن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اتخذ قبور الأنبياء والصالحين مساجد يصلي لله فيها فكيف بمن اتخذ القبر أوثانا يعبدها من دون الله عز وجل. So he's saying that the shirk of af'al, the polytheism in actions, can occur through making prostration to other than Allah. So in our Sharia, in our Islam, it's haram to bow down and prostrate to anybody other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are actions legislated for us and worship to Allah alone. Also, making tawaf around other things besides the Kaaba that Allah has legislated for us. And the only reason we do that is because Allah has legislated for us. So, for those who, make tawaf around graves or, sanctuaries and stuff like that, hoping to achieve something, that's a form of shirk. Also, he says kissing or taking rocks. You find a whole class of people that take rocks as protectors. They say that these rocks give certain energies, or these rocks do this and that. If it's scientific and the rock is able, like certain magnetic properties of certain rocks, then we can accept that. In terms of science, just like medicine, that's fine. But when you say that rocks have powers that only belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not from the creation that Allah gave it, then that's a form of shirk. Except he's saying that the Hajar al-Aswad, you're allowed to kiss it as the Prophet ﷺ legislated, only because Allah told us to. And there's a hadith, it says that it's the right hand of Allah upon the earth, the Hajar al-Aswad. Some scholars say that hadith is da'if, and some scholars say it's okay, the hadith, but the meaning is not the literal physical hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it says fil ard, upon the earth. It's muqayyad, they say. It's the description is defined, makes sense that it's not Allah's physical hand, but it means it's His special gift to mankind, and we can kiss it. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, by Allah Azza wa Jal, if I didn't see the Prophet ﷺ kissing you, I would not have done so. So only because of the worship of Allah, that He has legislated for us, we do these acts. But any other thing that's not from Allah, legislated by Allah, we cannot do. It's a form of shirk. And then those who take the graves as places of worship. The Prophet ﷺ said, he cursed those that took the graves as a masajid, just places that you offer salat in. Right? So there's a grave in there and you offer salat. The Prophet ﷺ said, curse be upon them. So the Imam is saying, imagine those who worship the graves. Not just praying where the graves are, but actually worshiping the graves. How much greater of a sin can that be? Yeah.
Oh, so sorry.
No, it's okay. في صحيح أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن من شرار الناس من تدركهم الساعة وهم أحياء والذين يتخذون القبور مساجد. The worst of people, أشرار الناس, the worst of the worst are those who are alive when the day of judgment comes, and those who take their graves as masajid, like the graveyards as places of prayer. So the hadith about, like in the last day, only the worst of the worst will be left. like the wind will come and take the soul of all the believers with Isa alayhi salam in one narration, and just the worst of the worst will be left upon earth. So that's when the the punishments and the destruction of the Day of Judgment will come. So the Prophet ﷺ said the worst of people are those, and they're not even believers, and he's saying those that take their graves or graveyards as places of worship, to show how severe that act is. Also في مسند Imam Ahmad رضي الله عنه وفي صحيح ابن حبان رحمه الله أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لعن الله زوارات القبور والمتخذين عليها من المساجد والسرج. Like, may Allah curse it's in this narration the women who often visit the graves and those that take the graveyards as places of worship and like vigils, right? So the scholars explain that there's other hadith that show the permissibility of women to visit the graveyards for remembering the death and the afterlife and to make dua, for example. But this narration is talking about the ones who make it a habit of always going to the graveyards and making it a place of worship. These are the ones that have the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said, اشتد غضب الله على قوم اتخذوا قبور أنبيائهم مساجد. The anger of Allah has been increased upon those who have taken the graves of their prophets as places of worship. And then he said, the Prophet ﷺ made dua, Allahumma la taj'al qabri watanan ya'bud or yu'bud. Oh Allah, please do not make my grave a place that is taken as a place of worship. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he feared so much for his ummah to fall into shirk. He didn't want to happen what happened to the Christians and some of the Jews before, how they took Isa alayhi salam as a son of God, or worshipped Isa. They started worshipping, making idols, making crosses, these type of things. He wanted to be the purest form of tawheed for his ummah, that we worship only Allah. We don't share in worship with any other besides Allah. That's the greatest gift any Muslim can have. There's a story about Yusuf's father alayhi salam, after missing him so long, and he got the news that Yusuf's still alive. In a narration it was asked, how is he? And he said he's actually the wazir, or like the person in charge of all the wealth of Egypt. And Yaqub alayhi salam was not even he didn't even flinch. He's like, that's not what I'm asking. And he said, yes, he's on the deen of Islam, deen al-Hanafiyya. He said, alhamdulillah, qad tamma ni'matullahi alayna. He said that he's still upon the deen of the truth, the pure Islam, the Hanifiyya. And he said this is he was thankful for that. So even though he missed his son so much, and his son is giving God news that he's like a wazir, it's like you're the president of a country, you should be happy about this news, but he didn't really care about that. He cared that his son was upon tawheed, upon Islam, upon the deen of the truth. That's the most important thing. So you always should try to get your perspective straight. And this is the greatest gift we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be Muslim. And always thank Allah for it, and always hold tight to the rope of Allah. And then he says, the Prophet ﷺ also forbid to pray after Asr until the sun has set, and after Fajr until the sun has risen, out of fear of people following the ways of the disbelievers. They used to worship the shaitan at those times, right? So from his keenness upon us, even the salah is forbidden in those times. I know in the Shafi'i madhab they say that it's okay, if you have a reason to do certain salat after those times of prohibition, it's okay. But many scholars like the Malikiya and others say that no, this is the time the Prophet ﷺ has forbidden, so you shouldn't do it, right? And even some of the great scholars, especially the times when it's close to that point where the sun is just rising or the sun is just setting, some have said it's tahrim to do salah at that time. You should just wait, stand and wait until the sun has gone all the way down or the sun has risen completely, then do your salah. And some, from their fear to get out of the difference of opinion, they would actually not enter, or if they did enter, they would stand until they were safe. They knew it's safe to pray. But the point that the Imam is saying that even salat, which is one of the greatest of activities we can do, the Prophet ﷺ is saying not to do it at these times, out of fear of being like those mushrikeen that worship the sun or that worship the shaitan at these times. وأما السجود لغير الله تعالى فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم لا ينبغي لأحد أن يسجد لأحد إلا الله. The Prophet ﷺ said in terms of prostrating to other than Allah, it's not befitting of any person to bow down to or make sujood to any other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the af'al. You know, prostration, tawaf. He also, I forgot to say, mentioning shaving the head for purpose of worship. You know, not like me, I don't do it for that. I just, if I'm going for Hajj, alhamdulillah, for worship or Umrah, but for Ada it's okay. But if a person does it like some of the Buddhist monks or some of the, you know, different sects, they will shave their head as a religious form of worship. That's also forbidden. That's another act that's forbidden. Right? So these are some of the acts that take a person into shirk and outside the folds of Islam. Now he goes into the alfaz, or the statements that can take a person outside the folds of Islam into shirk. ومن الشرك به سبحانه الشرك به في اللفظ كالحلف بغير أو كالحلف بغيره كما روى الإمام أحمد وأبو داود رضي الله عنهما أنه قال صلى الله عليه وسلم من حلف بغير الله فقد أشرك. That from the shirk of the statements is to swear by other than Allah. And he narrated the hadith that was narrated by Imam Ahmad and Abu Dawood. It's authentic that whoever swears by other than Allah has committed shirk. فَقَدْ أَشْرَكَ. And then he says, وَمِنْ ذَلِكَ قول القائل للمخلوق ما شاء الله وما شئت كما ثبت عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال أو أنه قال له رجل ما شاء الله وشئت فقال أجعلتني لله ندا قال قل ما شاء الله وحده. So another statement of shirk is to say that as Allah wills and as you will. The hadith, the Prophet ﷺ heard a man came to him and said, as Allah wills and you will. And the Prophet got upset and said, did you make me a partner to Allah? Say, as Allah wills alone. Right? So from the shirk of al-fadh or statements is to put somebody at the level of Allah in terms of the mashiyah. The correct way, if you want to say something in that manner, it's best to avoid it, but if you have to, if you want to, you say ma sha'Allah thumma ma shi't. Like, as Allah wills, then after you, as you will, like that. But never equal. The other statements, it says, أنا متوكل على الله وعليك. I depend upon Allah and upon you. وأنا في حسب الله وحسبك. Allah is sufficient for me and you are sufficient for me. وما لي إلا الله وأنت. And I have nothing except Allah and you. وهذا من الله ومنك. And this is from Allah and from you. All these statements are forms of shirk, the Imam is saying. Like you never, when you put mentioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His gifts and His favors for you, it has nothing to do with people. Allah uses them as tools to give it to you, but the one who is giving truly, the one who can do the harm and do the good and do the benefit is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? You can have, a person can eat food and have no benefit from that food whatsoever, because Allah didn't put the blessings into it. Right? A person can have a tiny morsel of dates or Zamzam water and be like stronger and fitter than those people that take all these protein supplements and steroids and everything like that, because Allah puts the blessing into it. So always you put the favor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't associate partners with Him and give that credit to other people, right? So we have to be careful also when we praise people, because these are gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why you always say MashaAllah, like as Allah wills. Right?
Like, isn't it like to protect someone from the evil eye? You say like Allahumma barik, because there's a hadith that said that there was a companion that was washing himself, and someone saw him, and then he's like, wow, he has such nice skin, and he like fell unconscious. And when they went back to the Prophet, he said, next time you should say like in a blessing, like may Allah bless you, or like make dua for a blessing from Allah. And so some scholars said that that's what protects you from evil eye. That's what you should say. It's like a sunnah that needs to be revived.
Yes. Yes, you always, well, the narration I know is that if you see something that's pleasing to you, say MashaAllah, right? And then if you want to add Allahumma barak, like may Allah bless, is also good too. Because you want to be careful from having the evil eye or being affected by the evil eye. Because the Prophet ﷺ said that Ainu haqq, the evil eye is true. You know, it does happen. This happened in like the hadith she said about one of the Sahabis. He had very beautiful skin and it was very beautiful, and he was washing one day and somebody saw him and said, like wow, but he didn't say MashaAllah, and the person had like some type of, he felt very frail and weak and diseased because of that. Right? Even you can, some scholars say give ayn to yourself. Like you can be like looking in the mirror and be like, wow, and then something, you fall down, break your arm or something like that. Always say MashaAllah, because it's from the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So صاحب الجنتين.
Huh?
صاحب الجنتين سورة الكهف.
No.
So ولولا إذ دخلت جنتك ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله.
Yeah, like the story the brothers mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf about the companions of the two gardens. One had a greater garden, more wealth and everything, and he would go and think this is from his own works. Like he was saying, like proud of it, boasting about it. And the other person said, you should say, MashaAllah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Say, from the mercy of Allah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no power or might except with Allah's will. He didn't say that, so Allah destroyed his garden, right? And he was miserable because of that. So always when you're given wealth, know it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you're giving a blessing, be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you see something beneficial, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You can also thank the people, because from shukr Allah is shukr nas, like being thankful to Allah is thankful to the people. But the main one who gives and bestows upon everybody is Allah. So don't put somebody at the level of Allah.
What is wrong with saying thank you to a person? Because there are some people who believe the thank you is only to Allah. You just have to say something different, but they don't accept you say thank you to Allah.
Yeah, but the Prophet ﷺ, who is our example, he said, "La yashkur Allah man la yashkur al-nas." You're not thankful to Allah if you don't thank the people. So it's nothing wrong to say thank you to somebody has appreciation, and you can say Jazakallah khair, may Allah reward you, Allah barak feek, all these type of things.
As long as you realize that it's not coming from him, he's just
Yeah.
a means.
Yeah, just like I said, just first and foremost, always have in the back of your mind, this is the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the gift of Allah. Allah is the creator. Allah is the sustainer. Allah is the one that's in control of everything. Right? This is a gift that Allah has given you or allowed you to give to me from His mercy. Thank you, but the gift has come from Allah, so always thank Allah first and foremost. So, السجود والعبادة والتوكل والإنابة والتقوى والخشية والتوبة والنذر والحلف والتسبيح والتكبير والتهليل والتحميد والاستغفار. All of these acts that he's talking about are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Like, you shouldn't glorify, you shouldn't praise, you shouldn't elevate or seek forgiveness of anybody. In terms of the literal sense of like having your sins forgiven. I mean, obviously if you do wrong to somebody, you can ask sorry, you can say forgive me for wronging you. But in terms of forgiving your sins, at the end of the day, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The glory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La ilaha illallah. All these types of statements are for Allah alone. So like the mushrikeen, they used to swear by other than Allah, they used to glorify other than Allah, they used to give attributes of Allah to idols and things that are not deserving of worship. These are all forms of shirk fil alfaz, right? And then he goes, he mentioned to summarize the chapter, وفي مسند الإمام أحمد أن رجلا أتى به إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قد أذنب ذنبا فلما وقف بين يديه قال اللهم إني أتوب إليك ولا أتوب إلى محمد فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم عرف الحق لأهله. So a man did something wrong, like a sin, and he was brought forth to the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, and he said, "Oh Allah, I make repentance to you, and I don't repent to Muhammad." And Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet, he said, this person knew who is the most befitting of the right, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So alhamdulillah, in our religion we only go to Allah for our needs, for our forgiveness, for our repentance. Like in some other religions they have to go through idols or they have to go through people. Like I just can't comprehend. I mean, I went to Catholic school actually growing up, and even as a young kid, I was obviously not the most knowledgeable in Islam, but it just didn't sit right with me that a person goes and asks forgiveness of a man who is just as fallible, if not more fallible, than that innocent kid. Like they're taught from a young age that you're born out of sin, you're always sinful, you have to go and seek forgiveness through this priest, that he will forgive you. And it never sat right with me, like, why don't you just go to Allah, who's the one who created the priest, who created everything, and ask for forgiveness? You know, and a lot of my Christian friends, they had the same doubt. Like they would say, like you're right, it doesn't make sense. Like why should I go to a priest to ask for forgiveness? You know, why should I have to tell about my sins too? They have to, like, they're encouraged to confess. You know, as Muslims we're encouraged to like protect and cover and, you know, have sitr, not show off our sins, but they're encouraged to tell all their sins to the priest. You know, so that's why, you know,
the priest who may have committed even greater sins.
the priest, yeah, may commit greater sins. Allahu A'lam, because they're bashar, they're you know, they're humans.
Shirk.
Yeah, that's the greatest of sins, of course. But even like, there's one study, I don't know the accuracy of it. I think it was in one of these, the ABC or these studies that said that like the priests are 4 times more likely to have AIDS than the general population. You know, and I'm not you know, belating all the priests obviously, but I'm just saying this is one of the studies that shows that, you know, they're humans like us and they do sometimes worse mistakes than the regular population. So, okay. الشرك في الإرادات والنيات. So having shirk in attention. أما الشرك في الإرادات والنيات فذلك البحر الذي لا ساحل له وقل من ينجو منه. So he's saying this type of shirk we talked about before, like riya or the minor shirk. He said this is an ocean that has no coastline, meaning it's huge, and there's very few that can ever escape from it, right? Like the Prophet ﷺ described it last week. You know, it was like a black ant upon a black smooth rock in the darkest of the night. You know, that's how hard it is to detect sometimes, the minor shirk or the shirk of riya. So he's saying that many people will fall into it, and very few are the ones that escape from it. You know, to purify your intention solely, every act you do solely for the sake of Allah. من أراد بعمله غير وجه الله ونوى شيئا غير التقرب إلى الله وطلب الجزاء منه فقد أشرك في نيته وإرادته. So whoever wants by his action something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to get closer to something or somebody other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that action, he has committed an act of shirk in his niyyah. Right? So any type of action you're trying to do that's mixed with other intentions for other people or other reasons, that's a form of shirk, and you have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness for that. Right? And it's very important to always try to check your intentions when you're going to do worship, especially, you know, and you ask yourself, why am I doing this? You want to always the answer to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, why am I giving this money? Why am I coming to this lesson? Why am I seeking knowledge? Why, you know, am I doing these night prayers? That's why the night prayers actually are one of the best forms of worship, because there's no one else to see you except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why fasting sometimes is one of the best forms of worship, because no one can really tell you're fasting except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Unless you know, like we would say that example, the person goes and brags and saying, I'm fasting too. You know, but in general, it's something that's like a secret between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the scholars say it's always good to have a certain worship that you conceal and you keep it only for the sake of Allah. You know, that nobody knows about. Just to have that special relation with Allah, and that you know you're doing it solely for His sake. So the scholars say always try to make something in your life to have that type of worship. You know, whether it be a certain fast that no one knows about, or a certain sadaqah you give, like the Prophet ﷺ said that, you know, the right hand gives, even the left hand doesn't know about it. You know, or maybe helping a person in need without having to show you did it. You know, or telling others how to help a person in need. You know, anything you can do that's solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, try to increase from that. Because the more your action is solely for His sake, the greater the reward is. Right? That's why we said for the ikhlas, that, you know, they said that you cannot equal the weight of like this mountain of gold won't equal one handful of what Abu Bakr spent. Right? Because his niyyah was so pure for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what we strive to achieve as Muslims. والإخلاص أن يخلص لله في أقواله وأفعاله وإرادته ونيته، وهذه من الحنفية ملة إبراهيم التي أمر الله بها عباده، ولا يقبل من أحد غيرها، وهي حقيقة الإسلام. So إخلاص, sincerity, is that you make your sayings and your actions and your desires and your intentions solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what's called Al-Hanifiyah, the pure religion that Ibrahim had. وَمَن يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَا يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And whoever seeks other than Islam, it will not be accepted from him, and he will be of the losers in the next life. So the Imam is saying that Deen al-Hanifiyya, Millat Ibrahim, is Deen al-Islam. It's built upon ikhlas. It's built upon sincerity of intention. You know, the whole Deen can be summarized in terms of being sincere for Allah and staying away from Shirk. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. They were not ordered except that they should worship Allah sincerely. So we'll stop here inshallah. If you guys have any questions, تفضلوا. We'll start asking you questions. Yes.
Question. You remember earlier you were talking about rocks and stuff?
Yes.
You know how now there's a lot of people wear those, but they're more like for like headaches or if you have migraines or like different things. Are you allowed to wear those?
So like I said, if it's for medical purposes, like it's proven scientifically, it can help in terms of like a medicine type thing, or electrical magnetic fields and stuff like that. That's okay, as long as you don't believe it that it's giving harm or benefit through itself without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
Right? The same thing is like when you get the medicine from the doctor, you take it with the hopes that it'll be working and making you better, but the true healing comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Does he mention anything about tama'im and whether
necklace.
does he say anything about tama'im like hadith or Quran and stuff like that? Because I know there's a difference of opinion. I was wondering what his opinion was.
He does, but not in this book. I have to go and look it up again, but like Ibn Taymiyyah and him have discussed it at length, and there is a difference of opinion. Like tama'im is those things that people would like put on for protection.
Yeah.
And in general that's haram. It's a form of shirk.
Like the
But-
things I use.
Huh? Yeah. I mean basically they would
Like
Some
blue
people wear
eye
red.
or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
like
Yeah.
that eye thing.
The
I think or there's strings or
The red
different-
string, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jewish people wear red string.
There's
you know.
different. There's a rabbit's
Yeah.
foot even. Lucky rabbit's foot they call it.
Yeah.
All types of different things. The shaitan, he's very
Yeah.
smart in his traps of
Very
getting people
colorful.
to take things to worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's difference of opinions upon like ayat, for example. Is that permissible or not? It's a difference amongst the scholars. The main point is always to realize that no harm or benefit comes except from the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this necklace can't protect you. It's not going to save you if Allah's written harm for you. And it's not going to give you benefit either if Allah doesn't will that benefit. Right?
Yeah.
So always, it's safer for Muslims to stay away from things that are doubtful and things that could lead to shirk. Like the most pious of people that passed away at the time of Nuh, those people were very pious, and the shaitan came and tricked them through their piety, saying, let's make these idols or these pictures so we can remember these pious people so we can worship more. So encourage us when we see their pictures, we'll worship Allah more, right? And then the next generation, we remember our parents used to go and pray there, so we should go and pray there too. And then soon it became they started worshipping those idols, little by little. So it's always good. The Prophet ﷺ taught us to cut off the pathways to shirk. Wallahu a'lam. Also, please remember your brothers and sisters in Syria, like in Ghouta right now. They're really, suffering. They're starving to death. They're freezing to death. Basic necessities they don't have. And we with our homes, we can go and adjust the level of heat for our water to exactly how comfortable we want. When we don't have to worry about where our next meal is coming from. So like I said, none of you truly believes until he loves for his brother or sister what he loves for themselves. So at the very least make dua for them. Jazakumullah khair.